we have with us Andy Shaw Coron and Kate Woods. Now, Andy's a coordinator for San Benito Rising, and Kate, as you all know, is a repeat guest. She's author of Quicksilver Chronicles, which is available at lulu.com. And she's also an artist and many other things. And hey, we're just really happy to have you guys on the show. And we want to talk about San Benito Rising. You guys have been in the news for a while. So I understand that, you know, San Benito Rising is a grassroots group, working to stop fracking. Is that pretty much your objective?
Yeah, fracking and other what we call extreme oil extraction techniques. So that would include things like acidization, cyclic steam injection, any ways where you do something special to the ground below, change it to get that oil and that gas out of the ground.
Okay. And maybe you can give us a little background. How long has San Benito Rising been in existence? And
it seems like a long time, but I think it's only since this fall that we got together for our first meeting. We met for the first time in San Juan Bautista Library, showed people excerpts from Josh Fox's film Gasland, and it took off from there. We had a concern that the county was moving forward to creating regulations in dealing with fracking in the Monterey Shale. We've got a lot of the Monterey Shale underneath our county, and the fear was that those regulations really weren't going to protect the people of the county.
Right. And you know, with fracking, there really hasn't been a lot of regulation that we know about. That has, it's still kind of, I think, is experimental in a way. Wouldn't you say? We don't really know what the impacts are with this technique, and still relatively unknown. Am I correct?
Well, apparently, DOGGR, the agency that regulates it for the state, weren't even aware of which wells were being fracked or not fracked. There was little being monitored in the process, and so most of the horror stories were coming from other states.
I see. Wow. And so, what is? I know you have an initiative that is on the books, and for lack of a better word for it, we'll call it Protect Water and Health Initiative. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Do you want to take a shot?
Oh, well, we're about to launch it. We're going to be down at the elections office tomorrow. I know this show will go on later, but we're going to gather the signatures to make it official, and I know we're not going to have any trouble getting that. So it should be on the November ballot for the county, which is really going to help, because I know that the current gas and oil ordinance that the supervisors put in place has too many loopholes. It's actually, as I see it, it's rolling out the red carpet to these guys, you know, and it gives us bargain basement price to put any extreme type of oil or gas extraction. You know, it's like, it breaks down to something like $850 a well, when it should be, I think, $850,000.
Well,
so
also, when I read it, it's more of a self-policing type of thing.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Well, the counties are overstretched in terms of resources, and it would be very difficult to actually find out whether something was going wrong at any of those wells. I had the pleasure of getting to talk briefly to Josh Fox, the director of Gasland, and asked him about regulations, because I was concerned about the process moving forward. And I said, well, what do you think about regulating fracking? And he said it just gives permission to frack, and there's no such thing as safe fracking. There's some activities that you just can't do. And listening to Robert Rivas earlier in the show, when he talked about a vision for this county, some of these activities are just not compatible with a vision of a county that's going to rely on its agriculture, thinking about tourism associated with its wineries and its natural beauty. Not too many people want to come to a fracked county.
Well, we've focused on this show to the long vision. We've always tried to take the long vision, because we've learned in the past that technology in past years we thought was safe. Years later, we found out it was not. So we always try to look at the long vision. And as you know, water is my mission. And I know that this industry uses copious amounts of water. And I'm not taking a stance on fracking or not. It's just the fact that there's large amounts of water being used. And in a county that depends on agriculture and ranching, we have to decide as citizens, where do we want that water to go? What is the most beneficial use for that water? So is it for fracking? To me, it's a short-term gain to get some jobs and revenue, whereas, you know, it's a heritage in our county for ag and ranch. So there's so many competing interests for water right now, you know, regardless of the drought, the issues in the Delta, the climate change, the growing population. So water's going to become even more fierce competition over it. So do we want to direct it this way? So that's, you know, kind of where my stance is do we as a county, is that the direction we want to go? And I'm glad that you guys are opening up the debate. So I appreciate that.
Well, you know, there's more than one issue. There's an issue of supply, which is short all over the state, especially in a drought year. We just experienced the driest year in California's history. But not only does fracking use hundreds of thousands of gallons of water to frack a well, it has the potential of contaminating the aquifers around it so that they're not usable by agriculture, by the people. So it puts a really limited resource at risk.
Well, no, I mean, you're right down there by the condor habitat, so, you know, you have to look at that as well. So, you know.
Condors love water. They love to splash in water, and it's just the wrong thing to do. Up to 600 different chemicals go into a frack job, and it's almost like they pulled every chemical off the shelf and mixed it just to see what would happen. And it's a witch's brew. And water, whether it's underground or on the surface, it doesn't know boundaries. It doesn't know fence lines. So you frack your property, you're poisoning the water on your neighbor and their neighbor's property, and it's just the wrong thing to do in a county that depends on agriculture and ranching for its main economy.
Well, we're hoping that, you know, some people say this is not in my backyard, a NIMBY kind of thing, but my feeling about NIMBY is it's not in my backyard or anybody else's, that this is the kind of activity that people around the country are beginning to ask themselves, is this a bridge to any kind of future, or is it endangering a resource that's far more valuable, which is the water? When we have alternatives, we have ways of getting our energy that don't imperil our water sources. And if fracking's not good enough for New York State, where they've put a moratorium on it, it's not good enough for Californians either.
When we talk about groundwater, though, it goes beyond just somebody in your backyard, NIMBYism. I know that it was on a debate on the Board of Supervisors. We're talking about, you know, putting up bonds. How much bond should they put up for their oil rigs? And the thing is that what I find really hard to put a price tag on is if something goes wrong. You know, how much is it going to cost to clean something up?
Sure.
Clean up a mess.
We just need to look at New India. You
know?
And I think the bond right now in that oil and gas ordinance, I believe it's like $10,000. Woo! I mean, that's not gonna pay for 1 day's of cleanup. You know, it's just.
Well, look at if we, instead of doing bonds, if we actually asked them to buy insurance policies that guaranteed for all the, you know, to pay off the damage to all the folks who might be damaged by a polluted aquifer, they'd never be able to frack a single well. It would cost too much to frack it. That way you'd internalize the cost of that.
Well, I think David said at the beginning of the segment that, you know, the science just isn't there, too. We don't know the long-term effects.
We just don't know.
And I don't understand the rush to develop this right now, because the way I look at it, it's a supply and demand thing. That it's just going to be more demand and less supply, so that's going to let that oil be more valuable in the future after we know what the science is. So why rush to do it now?
You know, we look at the vision for the future where we don't have to rely on fossil fuels for energy.
Yeah.
But, you know, we have other issues that go beyond our region, like the XL pipeline that's going from Canada to the Gulf, and, you know, in reality, is just going to, we're not really getting any benefit from that. My understanding is just going to sell it to the Chinese.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
And what could go, I mean, there's already been a problem with cleanups with that type of operation, and it costs a lot of money. I know they had a problem with Lake Ponderosa, and
I know
cost $1 billion.
all types of issues with that.
Well, once that stuff spills, the settles to the bottom of waterways and they can't get it out.
And it's going through the Ogallala Aquifer, which supplies water to 2/3 of this nation's ranchers and agriculturalists. I mean, I think it's just insanity.
How do people, if they want to get involved with your organization, do you have a website address?
They can just go to their search engine and punch in San Benito Rising. They can find our Facebook. They can find our website.
Yeah.
And we certainly are looking for their involvement and support of this initiative. We've got other things that we're working on. We've been meeting with San Juan Bautista because we believe you can't just say no to something. You have to say yes about what kind of future you want. And we've made several presentations to the council about the possibility of a greener future so that the city right now is City of History, and it could be City of History and City of the Future.
Right. So that, you know, I can sense your passion for San Benito County. Is some of your constituents live outside of San Benito County, or is it pretty much?
Yeah, we are getting support from beyond San Benito County because people realize that this is a regional issue, that the aquifers in our county flow into the surrounding counties, that the watersheds that we have in our county flow out through the other counties into the ocean. So people realize that it's all things are connected.
It's
Yeah,
one of the
again,
largest watersheds in the state.
There's an interconnectivity that goes way beyond NIMBYism, that's for sure. Hey, well, I want to really thank you guys for coming on the show today and letting the viewers know about San Benito Rising and your mission, and we wish you best of luck.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
You're very
Thank you,
welcome.
guys.
Great to be back.
All right.
Okay.